you've got me and only me. The girls are out, so I thought I would film the first book review because we asked a couple of weeks ago, I think now, if you would like to see reviews of books, because some people had asked for them, and there was quite a lot of you that said yes please. And it's nice to know that there are so many bookworms out there. I love books. So to give you a bit of an overview, I learnt to read very young, and it was Dr. Seuss, and it was Sam and the Firefly, and the firefly would fly through the sky and make words with his light, and I used to trace them with my finger, and that's the start of my reading life. Now, my mother is a lover of literacy. She was an English teacher. I used to teach English as well, and I was raised amongst books, and I was at my happiest with books and in bookshops, and if I'm at car boot sales or anywhere like that, it's books. So I just love how you can pick up a book and you're in a different world. It's such a great form of escapism. And of course, the obligatory sniff every time I get a book. Do you do that? So the book I'm going to review today, is one that Abby brought me. I do get quite a lot of books for Christmas and birthday, as you can imagine. And this one is Good Half Gone. I have a few to review, but I'm going to do one per video. I think. We'll play that by ear. This is the one that I finished most recently, so it's freshest in my mind. And it's written by Tarryn Fisher. I will let you know when it was written, because I'm not entirely sure. Last year, 2024, so relatively recent. And it is a very gripping book. It's the kind of book that you can read a few pages at a time. You'll want to read more, but equally it's okay just to read a few pages at a time. You won't get lost if you just read those few pages, or you can sit and read it all in one sitting because it is gripping. There are 301 pages, and I'll read you the blurb first. How far will one twin go to discover where her good half has gone? Iris Walsh saw her twin sister Piper get kidnapped, so why did no one believe her? Iris narrowly escaped her pretty popular twin sister's fate as a teenager, vanished long before the cops agreed to investigate. With no evidence to go on but a few fractured memories, the case quickly went cold. Now, just a note on this bit. The twins were about 12 years old. I can't remember their exact age, but very young. One of the twins was the more quieter, studious type. The other one was the one that was starting to get into boys and makeup, and you can see the divide between them there. And there are a few flashbacks to younger years when they were very much together. And now they're starting to grow apart, although they still have that twin thing. Their mother was a drug addict and lacked that motherly instinct, and so Gran stepped in and took them and was raising them. And Iris absolutely adored her Gran. If you can hear noises, I've got one of the cats, it's Heidi, scratching at the toys in the background. Iris adored her Gran, absolutely. Piper was a little more rebellious. So there was this day where they wanted to, well, Iris really wanted to go to the cinema. Piper kind of agreed reluctantly. Before this day, they bumped into one of the cool boys in college who said, oh, why don't you go and meet this other cool boy in the mall? It's American. And this was to Piper, and Piper, now being into boys, agreed, and they went off together. They all went to the cinema together, and after the cinema performance, everything went wrong. I'm not going to give everything away, it's the beginning bits, really. Everything went very wrong, and Piper ended up disappearing. And the only thing Iris has of this are like a few odd memories, because the shock had like taken all of these clear memories away from her, as you can imagine. But she was beside herself that she'd lost her twin. Gran was absolutely on board. Where is she? We need to find her. The police weren't interested. The police were saying, you know, these teenagers, they run away, they get into boys, she'll be fine, all that kind of thing, which infuriated the family, as you can imagine. Their mother, not interested. Well, I was up to all sorts when I was that age, that kind of reaction. And so started a lifelong mission for Iris to find out where her sister was, what happened, who did it, all that kind of thing. But there's a twist and a tail here. Sorry, I've got really fluffy hair today, sorry. There's a twist in the tail here, which is they got it's just flashed up. Taking long videos might make your phone heat up. It's only been 5 minutes. The twist in the tale is that Iris's mum phoned Iris's gran and they really weren't in contact all that much and said, you better come over here. So they thought Piper's there. And they rushed over to the house and there's a baby. It had been left on the doorstep with a note saying, look after my son. And then Iris thought, my sister's alive. Obviously, she took this baby as a teenager. And Gran and Iris raised this baby, and this baby grew to call Iris Mum. And then it kind of flashes forward a bit to Iris being a bit older, looking through old photos in the attic for clues. She was still rather booky. She was still not that interested in blokes. She just wanted to know where her sister was. So the next part, that fed in nicely to the next paragraph of the blurb. Now an adult, Iris wants one thing, proof. There we go, that's what I was saying. And if the police still won't help, they're fairly useless in this book, she'll just have to find it her own way by interning at the isolated Shoal Island Hospital for the criminally insane, where secrets lurk in the shadows and are kept under lock and key. Now this, I can say all this because it's on the back. This place that she goes to, she gets the job in Shoal Island Hospital. And it's split into various areas. So you've got your D zone is the worst zone. That's your lifers. That's your people who have committed murder. Your people who are far too dangerous to even let out into, I guess, what you would call general population. And they stay in their own corridor, mostly in their own rooms. And at the end of that corridor, you've got the head, I guess, a guy of the whole place. It gives some history of what used to be there. It used to be a hospital prior to that. I think it was a school. Might not have been, don't quote me. And the general population people, they're interesting. There's a lot about their characters. You've got the one that prophesises things. You've got the one that's into art and draws what he sees or what he sees is coming in his artwork. And it's very interesting, almost character study of these people. And then there's the staff themselves, also a very eclectic and interesting group. You've got the staff that are helpful and want to help you learn the ropes. And you've got your staff who just don't like you from the minute they see you, which I guess is normal life. Well, I've known that to be normal life. So she's kind of finding her feet in this place, learning who she can maybe befriend a little bit, but she's there for a reason, and it's not for the job. She's trying to go back over these lads that they went to the cinema with as kids. Where are they? One of them is in D-Wing. She's also in contact with another one who's in another prison, and I think she managed to make contact with a third one. So she's desperately trying to get answers, and this is like an ulterior motive she's got. In order to do that, she really needs to befriend the head doctor, who is famous for all the work that he's done. All the female staff seem to fawn over him. It's a bit like that Harry Potter character. I can't remember, was it Lockhart? Where everybody was swooning over him in the shop when he was doing a book signing. This doctor appears to be that kind of character. Excuse me. Pepsi Max break. Okay. Next paragraph. I'm still on the blurb here. But Iris soon realises that something even more sinister is simmering beneath the surface of the shoal, and that the patients aren't the only one being observed. Now, what would you make of that if that was all you knew about the book? Everybody's being observed in one way or another. I mean, to get to this place, they have to go on a boat. If they miss the boat, they miss their work. They're working 3 shifts on, 3 shifts off, 24-hour shifts. So she's away from her son, her sister's son, and you know, what can you do? She needs to find that drive to find out what happened to her sister is stronger than the drive to stay at home. Meanwhile, in the background, Gran is getting more and more frail and poorly, and she just wants to find these answers before her Gran passes away. Does she? Yes, she does. I'm not going to tell you the ending because I think it would be good for you to read this yourself. If you're into thrillers, listen, I mean, normally I read Lee Child, I read Stephen King. I'm starting to branch out into other authors now because I do get stuck on one author, and that's actually really refreshing. It's not difficult to read. It's not, I mean, the chapters are quite short. The print is yay big. I would recommend this as a very good read, and I think Abby's got her eye on it now that I finished it as well. So yeah, I mean, should I mark this out of 10? I mean, I've read a lot of books over the years. If I was to mark this out of 10, I'd give it 8, only because There was a bit at the end where I did get a little bit lost because suddenly everybody was involved in the revealing of what really happened, and I just got a bit lost, like, right, who's saying this, who's saying that, and who's this person again? And there's a little bit of a switch of names which confused me as well. So I think that I got it in the end, but there was that kind of knotty bit where I got a little bit lost. So I think for that reason I give it 8 out of 10. But having said that, I was reading it in kind of smaller chunks. If I just sat down and properly read it, I would have probably got it sooner. Tarryn Fisher I haven't heard of before. There are other books. Never Never, that's Colleen Hoover and Tarryn Fisher together. And The Wives, I'm not sure what they're about. I may look into them. I'm happy to read other books by the same author. Yeah, have you read this book? Do you think this is the kind of book you would like to read? I think somebody had mentioned, and I'm sorry I can't remember your name now, someone mentioned that they'd gone and ordered the books that I'd been gifted, so that they can be read themselves. Did you read them? Do you like them? Have any of you heard of Tarryn Fisher before, or read any other books by Tarryn Fisher? Can you recommend any of them? Because I'd certainly go out and buy on recommendations. I've had recommendations for other books that I've bought that will show up in another book review at some point. So yeah, that's good half gone. Well worth the wait for the twist at the end. Now I've only done 12 minutes, so I think this book review may be 2 books per review. Let me know what you think. Is that enough? Do you want more? Do you want 1 book per video or 2? I've never done this before, so I don't know. But I'm going to do 2 for now and then see what you say. Okay. The second book, another one by Abby, another thriller. The Inmate by Frieda McFadden. Again, another author I've not heard of before. Has written some other books. I don't know how well you can see that. There you are. So, The Co-Worker. Well, if that's a thriller, that interests me already. The Locked Door. Never Lie, and One by One. There may be more. This is just what's printed on here. But I've started with The Inmate. But maybe, I think I got another one of these from Abby as well. So I will do that. I'm in the middle of reading 2 or 3 others. So after that, I will read the other one that went with this. I think it's The Locked Door. She did say read one before the other. And then when I asked her which one should I read first, later on down the line, she was like, oh, it doesn't matter. So I don't think there's an order to these. So I started with this one. And the blurb here, the guiltiest people aren't always the ones behind bars. And it reads, as a new nurse practitioner, so kind of similar here to Good Half Gone, because she went on to the islands to work as a nurse in the hospital for the criminally insane. This protagonist in this book is a new nurse practitioner at a maximum security prison. Similarities there. Brooke Sullivan is taught 3 crucial rules. 1. Treat all prisoners with respect. 2. Never reveal any personal information. 3. Never ever, and the ever is in capitals, become too friendly with the inmates. But nobody knows that Brooke's already broken the rules. Nobody knows about her intimate connection to Shane Nelson, one of the penitentiary's most notorious and dangerous inmates. Now, pause there. Never ever become too friendly with the inmates. Ever is in capitals, so already you know she's going to become too friendly with the inmates before you've even read the first page. And she is. This is another young lady who has a child at home. And she has had some trauma in her past. A bit like, actually there are some real similarities between these two. A bit like this one. I mean, come on, I could do probably a book review across the both with the similarities and differences. In this one, her sister goes missing. I'm not going to say the outcome, but it involved a group of other teenagers as well. They are now adults. The remaining sister is looking for answers. In this one, there is a sleepover at somebody's house. They're all into boys. It's that age again, similar age. And there are deaths. That's all I'm going to say. So there's a question mark over who did the killing. And that is the main point through all of this book. Now, Shane Nelson, the name here that I've already said, is in jail for life for the killing of these other children that were at the sleepover. Is he the right person to be in jail or not? Shane Nelson is also the ex-boyfriend of Brooke Sullivan, who's gone to work there. So it's a bit of a grey area, and they address this in the book as to whether she should be there or not, a conflict of interest. She knows him very well, and she was falling in love with him. Anyway, the next paragraph, they certainly don't know that Shane, there you go, was Brooke's high school sweetheart, the star quarterback, the golden boy who's serving a life sentence for a series of grisly murders, or that Brooke's testimony was what put him there. Now, Brooke did get caught up in the violence. There's trauma here. She's now grown up with a son. She moved away from the area because of the memories attached to her, to the trauma. Her parents were not supportive with the pregnancy. They didn't really want her to have, again, unsupportive parents. Similar themes. They didn't want her to have the baby. She had this baby. She moved away. But she did move. Her parents died, and she inherited the house back in the town where all this happened. So she moved back. Now, there's a lot of old school locals who remember this story and aren't that pleased to see her because she testified against Shane. There was another guy that was there as well called Tim. Tim is now the headmaster of the local school where her son will be attending. And Tim was a boy who lived in her street from very young. They used to play together. I think Tim had a bit of a crush on Brooke for quite a long time. And Tim was over the moon to see that Brooke was back in town and very happy that Brooke's son was in the school. But Brooke, he just presumed that her son was in preschool. He's not. He's 10 years old. This incident happened 10 years ago, so you can see what's going on there. She didn't really want to tell him either. He knows that she's working at the prison. He knows that Shane is in the prison. He's not happy about that because of everything that went on. So the next bit, anyway, they become quite close. But Shane knows, he knows more than anyone, and he will never forget. What is it that he won't forget? He won't forget that night. None of them will. It's really not nice. And this was another one that I was like, ooh, what's happening next? I was turning pages. What's going on? Tim was there on the night as well. So it's between Tim and Shane, and they both start getting into Brooke's head. So Shane's saying, don't trust Tim. Tim, who she's becoming more and more close to. Tim, who is starting to become a little bit of a father figure to her son, who's never had a father figure, and she's enjoying the fact that he is. She's getting a bit closer to him. But on the other side, she's got Tim saying, sorry, I've got Heidi, just jumped up. She's got Tim saying, I want you out of there. How can you be in there after everything he's done to you? Brooke barely survived the night herself. So she's torn between, when she listens to one, she's like, hello. When she listens to one, she's like, oh yeah, you're right, I need to get another job. And she almost does. And when she listens to the other, she's like, this can't be true, can it? Could Tim be involved in this? So there's massive question marks over this. It says, The Inmate is a propulsive, mind-bending thriller about how we define guilt and who has to pay for it. Is the right person in jail? You'll have to read it to find out. And her son becomes quite central to the answer of all of this. And I don't mean in a DNA sense. So again, we've got uncaring parents. We've got childhood trauma with a group of young people who then grow up to try and untangle what's happened and work out who the real kind of baddies are, I guess. And the sad outcome of this are there are children involved who don't have the answers or are needed to help with the outcomes. And yeah, I didn't realise until I started doing this book review the similarities between them. I would read this. I would recommend this. This is 323 pages long, slightly longer than the first book. Easy reads. There's the print. I always like to see what the print is like. So that's the first book review I've ever done. So I guess my questions are, would you want to see one or two in a video? I found two interesting for the comparison factor, although I don't think there's a comparison between the next two, as you'll see, if I do two. Do you want to see more of these? I know some of you had asked for book reviews, but now you've got them. Do you want to see any more? I absolutely adore literature, and I'm more than happy to share with you what I'm reading. I try and read as much as I can, as often as I can, but my life is a little bit hectic and I don't always get the chance, or I'm not always well enough to read. But as much as I can, I do. And this is something I obviously encouraged students and was encouraged myself by my mother, and I encouraged Abby. Now Abby's quite severely dyslexic, so I encouraged her, tried to help her. We went down the audiobook route. She loves books. She loves having books in her room, but she was never really a reader. Having said that, she did used to listen to audiobooks, which helped. And the TikTok shop, or TikTok, I don't know much about TikTok. I've never really learnt it, but TikTok has made her do it where I couldn't. TikTok has made her read. She's gotten into all these, you know, what everybody's reading. She's watching book reviews. She's going out. She's buying what they're saying is good. She got a lot of books for Christmas. Hello, Heidi. And hello, Heidi. Do you mind? And she's planning to read them, which is lovely. I'm really happy about that, you know. And Kath's also dyslexic. She's been picking up books as well, so I'm really happy with all of this. Never mix books and cats. No, always mix books and cats. You can't get better than curling up with a good book and a few cats. I'm going to leave it there for now. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think. Thank you for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Happy reading. Heidi's kissing the phone. She says hello. Do you want to move out of the way just for a minute? Yeah. Go on. Go on the chair. Good girl.